Hello everyone, thanks for tuning in to today's bird video. We're going to have a look at the weather for next week, 10 days for today's bird video. So day 10 will take us around the 23rd of April. We'll be able to extend out beyond that. Extended GFS and ECM ensembles favourites around a couple of weeks. And have a look at CFSV2 at the end of the video for the next 4 weeks, which will take us well into May, of course. The first video released today was the very quick 3-4 minute forecast, 7 AM upload. Nice little video to start the day, looking at weather the next few days. And we also released the ECM 30-day look at as well. Check out those 2 vids if you'd like to do that. Right, so we're going to begin with latest observations from XC weather. So it was a cold morning across many parts of the country this morning with a widespread frost again. It's been a long time since had so many frosty mornings in April. Really quite unusual what's happened with this April. But by day, temperatures are gradually staging a little bit of a recovery. So we've already got 12 degrees flashing away here at Exeter and also Plymouth. There's another 2 or 3 hours worth of warming less. So we might get a temperature around 13, maybe 14 degrees somewhere in the southwest of England this afternoon, which is back quite close now to the April average. Headcorn Aerodrome in the southeast at 11 degrees. London Gatwick at 10 degrees, so it's a little bit cooler there. Hertsman Zone 11 degrees. And going further northwards, it is still very chilly really for the time of year through the Midlands. To Western Aerodrome at just 8 degrees, Church Lawford 8 degrees, Wittering 8 degrees, East Midlands Airport 8 degrees, Hereford 9 degrees. So these are well below average, these temperatures through Midlands and into East Anglia, 10 degrees at Norwich, into Wales. We'll move on from that place. Slayfernway is at 7 degrees, Sennybridge at 8 degrees, and Cavalcurrick at 8 degrees. So away from the far southwest, the temperature is still struggling quite a lot after that frosty start. Bingley, Northern England at 7 degrees. Spadadam is at 6 degrees. Gets ever cooler the further north you go. Strathallan at 7 degrees. So many to Northern Scotland, just 5 degrees at Los Glasgarnot. And 6 degrees at Outnahara. And Kirkwell at 7. And down into Belfast, we've got 9 degrees there. So the temperatures have virtually got back to average in the far southwest of the country. But most places are still quite a bit above, quite a bit below average, actually. Temperatures are struggling despite strong April sunshine. And there'll probably be another frost tonight. Tomorrow will be a little bit milder still. And that's going to be the trend, I think, over the next week or so. But we will gradually see the temperature moving up. But it's not a quick process to come out of this cold start to April. These are the GFS upper air temperature and precipitation ensembles for the next couple of weeks. We're at Lincoln today. So the red line is a 30-year upper air temperature average for Lincoln. You see, we're still cold and average at the moment. We're going to stay cold and average through the next few days as well. By the weekend into next week, that's when the temperatures look like they're really starting to move a bit. So by the weekend, and particularly into the early part of next week, probably going a little bit above average, a milder spell setting up through the 3rd week of April. Maybe you can say a little bit of a warm spell setting up through the 3rd week of April. Now, in the final week of the month, we do have a lot of scatter here. So we've got these warmer ensemble members up here, but we do have several ensemble members that are going cold again. So we talked about this in yesterday's video, the possibility that we might pull down cold northerly winds again. Have one more northerly blast in the last week of April. I think the model app has generally backed away from that idea a little bit today. But within the GFS ensembles, the possibility is still there. So anything from around the 24th onwards into that last week of the month does come with a lot of uncertainty. Precipitation-wise, going to continue to be a lot of dry weather. Not completely dry, there will be showery bursts around at times, but overall, it looks like there is going to be a lot of dry weather on offer, certainly for eastern areas in the next couple of weeks. Temperature anomalies from the 13th to 21st of April are going to be below average of the UK through most parts of Europe. See, the coldest anomalies to average are being pushed more towards the eastern side of Europe, though, so not quite as cold as it has been to average in the north and northwest of Europe. Nevertheless, the temperature anomaly is still below average. Precipitation anomalies from the 13th to 21st of April largely drier than average away from the far northwest anyway. Latest wind flow map from earthnoilschool.net shows that we are firmly under high pressure Now you see the way that winds rotate around the high pressure, something like this. So winds come around the high pressure like that, and so you can see that we are well and truly under the centre of the area of high pressure now. Right, so this is how the UK Met is looking for Friday. High pressure builds over the country and towards Scandinavia on Friday, which will probably bring in more cloud to eastern areas in the second half of the week, and maybe a rather cool easterly wind for those southern and eastern areas. However, there's not much on easterly because the high pressure is actually reaching from Scandinavia into the UK. So we shouldn't have to worry too much about easterly winds, except, you know, onshore around the east coast where it might be quite cold. But otherwise, we're on a region of high pressure, so it doesn't look too bad. There should be a lot of dry weather, probably still quite cold at night. I think they'll struggle to get rid of these frosty nights even into the weekend. But by day, probably pleasant in the April sunshine. And then into Sunday and on into Monday. The high pressure just slips a little bit further southwards slightly, or the ridge begins to slip a little bit further southwards, which probably allows something a bit warmer start coming into the ridge in terms of the air. You know, the air will start to move up more from like the central part of the Atlantic, southern Europe. So I think very gradually, and as I say, it's not a quick process to come out of this cold weather, but very gradually I think we'll start seeing the temperature moving up. So hopefully this might get temperatures into the mid-teens Celsius by the time we get through to the start of the next week. So the GFS 6Z is looking, updating as we're speaking. So again, Friday, high pressure is dominating over Scandinavia, sending a ridge down into the UK and Ireland too. That situation continues into the weekend. Will be an area of low pressure trying to come in off the Atlantic by the end of the weekend, so it could get some rain into the far west of the country by the end of Sunday, but most areas will be dry over that area of high pressure. Now, the GFS makes more of this trough of low pressure early next week than the UK Met did. So this could bring some quite heavy showers and maybe some more persistent spells of rain into western and southern areas of the trough as the trough slips southwards through the early part of next week. So that's a little bit more unsettled through the early part of next week. Probably mainly dry for the northern eastern areas, but in the south and the west there might be some quite wet weather with that trough low pressure. Remember, UK Met does not make as much of that trough though. But by the middle of next week anyway, we're back to high pressure. So whatever happens with that trough, whether it just gives us a glancing blow, or whether it pushes further into the country, whatever happens with that early next week, by the middle of next week, we are actually back under high pressure once again. So back to mainly dry and fine conditions. And those dry conditions continue up to day 10, which is 23rd of April. We are bringing in more of an easterly again across England and Wales, so high pressure centering over Scandinavia, more of an easterly wind again across England and Wales, which probably will have a bit of a chill to it. In the more extended range, again, the GFS 6Z is trying to build a high pressure to Greenland and Scandinavia, trying to take that high pressure over to Greenland and Scandinavia. An attempt to pull down a cold northerly. It does not pull that off. The cold northerly winds with that go down into Scandinavia and sort of Baltic regions. We just remain with these easterly winds. And of course, we're going further on into the spring here, 25th of April now. So it should be a particularly cold easterly. But we may get some showers coming in with it, especially across more southern areas. It's a kind of pattern this, where the driest weather will be in the north and the wettest weather will actually be down in the south potentially, with heavy showers. We keep that scenario going. This is quite a prolonged Scandinavian high that's setting up. Not unusual for spring. April and May are the 2 months that are most prone to easterly winds and Scandinavian highs, of course. If only it was this simple to get a Scandinavian high going in January, but it never is, because the jet stream is always so much stronger. But in April and May, you know, as the jet stream is losing its energy and we're losing that contrast between the polar regions and the tropics, the temperature contrast that fuels the jet stream and cyclogenesis. We're losing that now. So April and May are always the months where we get the most Scandinavian highs on average and the highest number of east winds. So this is all very, very typical for the time of the year as we're moving into the end of April with this Scandinavian high. That's how we finish up with this GFS 6Z run. Again, quite a bit of high pressure to the north and some low pressure developing across central parts of Europe, but still a little ridge. So there's a lot of dry weather to come over the next couple of weeks, if that is right. Not necessarily overly warm, but there is quite a lot of dry weather to come. The GM looks like that again. High pressure over Scandinavia on Friday, sending a ridge down into island of the UK, should bring a lot of dry weather over the weekend, and temperatures, as I say, gradually lifting up. So by Sunday and the early part of next week, probably getting the temperature into the mid-teens Celsius, I would have thought. That's Monday, again under a ridge of high pressure. Should be a fair amount of dry weather in the north and west. Trough of low pressure could bring some showery rain. Doesn't make quite as much of that trough of low pressure as the GFS does through the early part of next week. Might bring some showers across England and Wales, though, early next week. And then we're back under the high pressure again as we move to day 10. And this actually starts to draw up a southerly wind. The GEM drawing up more of a southerly wind by day 10, which obviously is going to be a lot warmer. That could get temperature into the upper teens Celsius if it came off. Maybe 18 or 19 degrees might be possible with that, as high pressure is to our east and low pressure is out to the west. And following the isobars back, the air comes up from Spain. So definitely that would be a lot warmer by day 10. The ECM looks like this. So again, high pressure over Scandinavia, sending ridge down into the UK and Ireland on Friday. Lots of dry weather. Saturday going to be mainly dry as well. So a lot of fine weather to come this weekend. Some showery rain in the north and the northwest, however. Into the early part of next week. Again, we have this trough to our west on Monday. That might bring some showery rain to some parts of the country early next week. But really high pressure dominates. 1,030 millibars sitting over Scotland. So again, lots of dry and fine weather through the middle part of next week, and that lasting into the second half of next week. That's how we look at day 10. High pressure again over and slightly to the east of the country, drawing up like an east-southeast wind. Should be loads of dry weather, and temperatures will be reasonably pleasant with that anyway. Could still be quite chilly by night, but by day, I think we're at least into the mid-teens Celsius with that. Precipitation forecast based on that ECM run from Meteo.com. So some showers in the west and the northwest today and along some coast areas, but a lot of dry weather, central and eastern regions. Tonight turns dry, probably quite cold again. Few scattered showers about tomorrow, and when we get through into the end of the week, some showery rain coming in from the east on Thursday, but not amounting to much. And over the weekend, the emphasis is on dry weather away from the northwest, where there's some showery rain. As the wind sort of pulls into the south-southwest, temperatures should start to lift up over the weekend. What rain there is into next week with the ECM is more towards the far northwest. Most areas continue to be pretty dry, and these dry conditions then carry on up to day 10. This is the option that's on the table within the ECM ensembles today for day 10, which gets us to the 23rd of April, St George's Day, I think. 51 out of 51 members of the ECM ensembles have high pressure dominating weather, more or less over the top of the country, so obviously going to be mainly dry and fine. With that, in 2 weeks' time, these are the options that we've got. This will go to the 28th of April, so into the last days of the month. So we have 23 members of the ECM ensembles with high pressure away to our north and northwest, and that will pull in a cold and northerly wind. Remember, we talked in yesterday's video, we have spoken a little bit about it in this one. There is a possibility that we might get some cold air back in from the north again, bring down cold northerlies during the last week of April. These 23 just here are doing that. However, we have 14 just here that have the high pressure to our east, and they're going to be drawing up quite a warm southerly wind. And then we have 14 just here that have high pressure sitting to our north, and they're bringing in easterlies. So there's a few options there as we get into the last week of April, and we saw that within the GFS ensembles as well, with all of the scatter in terms of the upper air temperatures. So there's a chance we might get another northerly plunge. Equally, we might pull up some quite warm southerlies, or we might just have an easterly, as the GFS 6Z is shown. And easterlies won't be particularly cold in late April. If you want cold weather at the end of April, it really does have to come from an Arctic sort of northerly type source. What we can see, though, is even into the last week of April, there is a lot of high pressure. Just the exact position of that high pressure that is to be determined. Finally, then, just have a look at CFSV2 before we go. These are 500 millibar heights broken down into weekly periods. The first week period will take us from the 13th to the 19th of April. The coming week we'll have high pressure to our north-northwest. Income winds from the east. So we are setting up quite an easterly pattern, of course. Into week 2, which is the 20th to 26th of April, high pressure event just out to our west. And winds sort of coming around the reach from a northwesterly direction. Still quite a bit of dry weather, but might be starting to turn a bit more showery with that, and a little bit cooler perhaps as well. Now, week 3 looks unsettled. This is going to be the 27th of April to the 3rd of May. So the high pressure slips away towards eastern Europe and get this area of low pressure developing to our south-southwest. It's probably quite mild, or even maybe warm. It could be bringing up wind from a southerly direction, but with the low pressure to our southwest, there could be quite a bit of rain involved with that. Maybe even a bit volatile, maybe hints of a little bit of thunder perhaps there. So that's quite an interesting one as we go into the beginning of May. And then back into quite nice weather for week 4, which is the 4th through to the 10th of May. High pressure events returns, like to our east-northeast. Winds up from a southerly, southeasterly direction. You expect that to be pretty warm and turning dry as well. The GavsWeatherVids spring forecast did predict that March and April could have a mix of weather and with some colder periods of time at times as we try to revert back to the winter pattern. And then we said that May is likely to be a warmer, drier sort of month this year. So maybe that's signs of it. Warm, dry May coming up after a chilly, say the least, April. We'll see. Time will tell. If you enjoyed the video, please can you smash the like button. Make sure you subscribe to our channel. You'll see future weather content. If you subscribe, tell friends, family, everybody else who subscribe. Everybody who subscribes brings a friend. We will get to our target of 11k subscribers that much quicker. Thank you so much, everybody, for doing that for GavsWeatherVids. And drop a comment and let us know what you think about this and all of our videos. Thank you so much to all of you for doing this. So that's it for today's videos. Tomorrow we're going to have USA forecast, have a 10 to 14 day as well. And we may bring you JMA data tomorrow. We might have a look at the JMA seasonal model and see what that's showing going into the summer. But for today's videos, that's all for now, and thanks for watching. Bye for now.